Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us from. I'm Annette Richmond. This is Content Marketing School. Sorry to be a minute or two late. I was busily chatting behind the scenes with my guest, as I always am. So I am so excited to have you here today with me, Isabella, and our mutual friend, my friend Michelle Raymond, Michelle J. Raymond, the company page sort of wizard, guru, mastermind, said, "Oh, you got to talk to Isabella. She'd be great for your show." And then I found you were doing a boot camp, and so I took that and I invited you, and I was so excited that you said yes because I know you're a busy woman. So, for anyone who doesn't know you or who you are, please tell us.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. I'm really, really excited for our chat. My name's Isabella Bedoya. Everyone calls me Izzy. I'm a serial AI entrepreneur, so I have started multiple AI businesses. We have grown them into six figures pretty quickly, and basically, for the past year or so, I have been super focused on learning and innovating new ways that we can use AI for marketing and sales. I've trained a lot of people along in the process, done a lot of speaking engagements and all that fun stuff. So I'm excited for our chat today because I know we're going to get into the nitty gritty of content marketing and how we can use AI for that.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much for saying yes to me. And AI is kind of like the hottest topic right now. And it is such a part of content marketing. I know I use a few different AIs, not like have them write it and throw it out there, but they're so helpful for so many things. But I think a mistake that people make is they think it's like just about the prompts, like, oh, if I just go and, I buy, 50 prompts from somebody, I'm all set. That's all I need. But it's really from what I learned from you and in other places, it's so much more than that. It's so much more about the conversation and the understanding. And so why don't you just, get right into that and share, dispel some of those myths that people think.
Absolutely, yeah. So when it comes to AI and prompt engineering specifically, I mean, there's everywhere you turn, everyone's selling you prompt packs, prompt libraries, telling you to use this prompt or the other. What I have found is that the best way to get the best output out of AI is by having a basic understanding of what is it that you're trying to create, right? So the easiest way that you can think about it is if you've ever had to write a brief to a virtual assistant or anywhere on Upwork or whatever the case might be, you're very detailed, right? You usually have to say, okay, we're going to create this. This is going to be for whatever use case or goal, and this is the objective, and you give them usually a step-by-step framework of how you want it to get done. AI is the same thing. Instead of a human being the one that's creating the response or the output that you're asking for, you're talking with essentially with a chatbot, right? And it's generating whatever it is that you need. But I have found if you have domain expertise, you're going to have a way better outputs and way better prompts simply for the fact that you know what you're looking for. So when you're creating content, like in this scenario, right? Let's say you're creating content. If you tell a technical person to write you a piece of content, it's not going to necessarily have a lot of marketing strategies infused into it. But now if you have a marketing background, you're going to immediately think, who's the ideal client profile? Who are we writing for? And now what tone do you want to write it in? And now you start getting a little bit more customized answers. And that's how you also start tapping into the other parts of AI where it's not so generic, but it's more a little bit more advanced based on the expertise of the prompt as well.
So obviously I am a consultant coach. A lot of my clients, my friends are, and I think it's from what I understand that you get better results if you say something like, this is who I am, this is who my target audience is, and this is what I'm looking for. And talk, and you can also say like for different types of formats and different types of platforms, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. So usually when you structure a prompt is usually act as or saying you are a expert copywriter, for example, or a LinkedIn creator, you could even say, right? So you always want to assign it a role so it knows okay, this is the kind of content that I'm gonna have to create. And then yeah, then you want to say for example, you are a LinkedIn creator, expert copywriter. You're going to write a post about X, Y, and Z. My target audience is this type of person. the output, what I have found specifically on LinkedIn though is I kind of treat it as like ad libs. It's a little hard to like explain, but
Okay.
the way that I explain my my LinkedIn prompts specifically, it's very much like ad libs, where I know that on a LinkedIn post, usually there's a hook and there's like insights or like tips and stuff like that or
Mhm,
storytelling, and
mhm.
then there's usually a call to action. So I give that whole entire framework to ChatGPT, and I'm like, okay, here's like five hook ideas, right? And the ad libs part is like, for example, here's hashtag in brackets. Here's like the number sign, right? Here's number in brackets. Tips to create a LinkedIn post. So now when you put the stuff in the brackets, ChatGPT is gonna like auto fill that kind of stuff. So I manipulate the hook and then I give it my framework and I'm like, tip number one and insight. I might be able to. It might be easier. I think. I don't know if I can share my screen.
No, this is going on the podcast, so it's gonna
Yeah.
it really has to be that. But I think the what I was kind of asking for is that you have to be detailed in it. For example,
Yes.
I might put in, I am a content marketing coach. My target audience is this many people. And I think one of the things that I think I use it for and other people use different AIs for is like content generation. So that's what
Yes.
I'm thinking of. And so there's that. But you're saying that also if you give it a framework, you could have it even write a post for you.
And yeah, copy paste post, right? Where it's not like so robotic anymore because you're controlling it, right? Um, I could read off the prompts. I just pull it up. I could read off the prompts if you'd like. But basically, yeah, if you control the framework, and in this scenario where I was trying to explain it, it's kind of like ad libs, right, or mad libs, right, where it's like you start adding variables, like here's 7 secrets to do this, or here's 7 tips for that, or whatever, and then you give it enough context on what the post you want the post to be about and who your ideal client persona is. It's going to be able to generate a much better formatted post in the style of a LinkedIn copywriter, where it's not going to be so wordy and like so bulky. It's going to be a little bit more shorter, concise, compact because you were able to manipulate how you want the output to come out.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I have I use it a lot for things like that. But if I am using it, like I will sometimes have it help me write like a LinkedIn newsletter article. So I may
Yeah.
pull a few different things that I have written here and written there and pop them into ChatGPT or another, Claude is my favorite writer,
I
and
love Claude.
say, put these into a LinkedIn newsletter. I want the newsletter to be about, 800 words, or I might put that in and say, this is my content, but can you write like an intro for me and then write an outro, a conclusion for me? So I personally don't use it so much to have it write posts, but to save me time in putting stuff together.
Yeah, absolutely. That is such a solid use case. Because yeah, you do save a lot of time on writing the intro, the output. I mean, the outro. You could even have it like rewrite and make it better or change the tone or whatever the case might be in seconds for the whole post, for the whole blog
Yeah.
post.
So I saw your ears perk up when I mentioned Claude, who's my favorite writing app. I basically use ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity, and I know there's a gazillion of them, but those are the three that I know and I use. And I actually I'm putting together a book, and I had Claude like edit it for me. It's like, okay, here's my stuff, and edit it for me. Or if I'm working on something, I might write something and do exactly what you said. Take a paragraph and say this better.
Yep, that's awesome. I love those three too. I think Claude is like amazing for writing. ChatGPT can get a little repetitive, or it can start using a lot of words that get kind of annoying, like thrilled and embark, and it just sounds like you can tell.
Yeah, all those words that you would never use,
Yeah.
It's like, I know. It's so let's talk about, because I think a lot of people know ChatGPT, but I don't think a lot of people know like Claude and Perplexity. And if you want to mention anything else, if you could talk a little bit about those two, because I've shared them with people and they don't know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love Claude. Claude has a lot more capability. It's like ChatGPT. They're all like chatbots, right? They're all AI chatbots. So Claude is really cool. For its writing capabilities, it writes so much smoother and so much nicer. I still think ChatGPT is like superior on like advanced reasoning and like those kind of capabilities, like logic and stuff like that.
Hmm.
ChatGPT still have issues with math. So if you're trying to do like math equations, it's
Oh,
gonna be
me
a little
too. Me
faulty.
too.
But no, with Claude, I love it for writing. I get it to write posts all the time, and not just posts, also like content, like course content and all that kind of stuff. Um, Business documents also. I don't know, the writing style is just different. ChatGPT just starts getting a little repetitive, and it's robotic and all that. Perplexity is awesome too. I like Perplexity because it's basically think of Google with AI. Well, actually, Google has AI now, so that's awesome.
Yeah,
But
but
but Perplexity was pretty much an AI search engine where you'd be able to put in your prompts or actually do research. Like if you're on Claude or if you're on ChatGPT and you're like, hey, write me a I don't know a research paper and cite the sources of where you got the information from. It's gonna hallucinate. It's gonna create those sources.
yeah.
But but yeah, Perplexity. You still have to be careful. You still have to be careful. You still have to double check. But Perplexity is really cool because when it gives you the answers, it's always citing the sources, and you can just
Yes.
click it, and that's all. That's very helpful.
It really is. It really is. And I do that, I've done that when I'm putting together a course and I want some stats, or I'm working on something about video and I want the latest stats. And Perplexity is always the place. And one thing that I want to mention with Claude, because that is my favorite, that's like my writing partner. And I really feel like I'm having a conversation like it's a being somewhere back there that's typing it into me. But it does not right now, it doesn't have access to the internet.
Mhm.
So, but also it does not save your content. So when you go to the new chat, it's gone. So you have to make sure that you copy whatever you're working on.
Yeah, on Claude, I think on the free version, I think it only stores like the top three, if I'm not mistaken. On the paid version, it does. Well, maybe I haven't paid attention. But on the paid version, I have been able to like recall other chats.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I'm not sure on the free version. On the free version, I think it was like only the top three, and then you also have like limits, and with Claude,
Yeah,
when you
yeah.
hit like the limits, it's so annoying. You have
Well,
to
I
wait forever.
well, I will say that I have both the paid version of ChatGPT and the paid version of Claude because I use them all the time. And I was recently having it sort of help me have Claude help me edit a manuscript that I'm working on.
Oh,
And because it's a book format, it would be getting them be like, okay, you're done. No more for like till this, a few hours later. It's like, okay. So you have to be kind of mindful. So what would you say is, kind of if someone is just starting, like, way more than I do, and I think I use it enough that I know some, more than some other people that just really are, think, oh, ChatGPT, I hear about it, but I haven't really used it, and that's the only one I know. What would you recommend that people start with if they're listening to this now or on the replay or on the podcast and they think, wow, this sounds kind of interesting. Where should I start?
that's a good question. The best way to get started is really just to get started, right? So it sounds probably a lot more simpler than it is, but if you just start using like just go on ChatGPT, it's a simple tool. It's free. Go on Cloud, pick a chatbot, and just start talking to it. Don't worry about getting like fancy with like the prompt engineering yet. Just start having questions, like ask it random questions. You have to. It's not until you have that like aha moment of like, wow, that was crazy, and I've seen it happen to so many people where, like, for example, for me, my aha moment with like ChatGPT was when I had it write a whole entire influencer marketing campaign that we were doing for one of our clients at that point, and it wrote the entire strategy, who we need to reach out to, and everything that I needed. It would have taken me 2 or 3 days to put together, and I did it in like 2 hours. And that's when I was just like, all right, what else can you do? I'm all in, right? And that's what I've seen. People have to like it has to actually affect your personal life, your day to day. And once you see it have that like tremendous impact, you're like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. And then there's the next phase where it's like now you have a little bit of an existential crisis because you're like, am I going to be out of a job? Right? And then it happens to everyone. It's like, well, what's going to happen next? And anyway, so this is usually like the emotional roller coaster that people go through. But the best way to even like to get to that point of like having that aha moment is just start using it. And you can start with simple things like tell me a recipe or tell me a joke or whatever the case might be. And then the next time that you go to write an email or the next time that you go to post something or the next time that you go to create a piece of content for work, just go to ChatGPT and see what it does. And then once you start getting like kind of in the habit of going to these AI tools, now you can start adding complexity to it. Now you can say, okay, how do I make the prompt better? You know, how to, and if you Google it, there's a lot of ways, like there's a lot of information on this now. A year ago, there was only like 2 places where you can find how to write a prompt, but now it's all over the internet. So if you Google how to write a perfect prompt, you will find it. And usually the structure is like you have to give it a persona, like a role. You have
Mhm.
to give it like, you know, a brief of what it's actually going to do, the goal, give it step-by-step instructions, tell it the limitations, like what can it do or what don't you want it to do. And then you can add tone of voice and that and pretty much like the rest of the stuff, right? Like how long do you want it to be, tone of voice, all those things. And that's generally like a good framework.
And I have found too that if I ask it, it will tell me. Like if I say, this is what I want, but and I'll say, here's my parameters, this is what I'm looking for. But is there more that you need to, is there more that I can give you to help you do this or something? And I think for me the sort of breakthrough, and I'm seeing some people, I don't see any comments here, but I see some people giving you the thumbs up here in the comments. um is when I stopped thinking about it as sort of this thing and started thinking of it as more like a human. And I know to some people that sounds weird, but I know you know what I mean. When I started thinking and interacting with it that way, it was so much easier. And I have had, I mean, a lot, everything has like AI now. You go into, I use Kajabi for courses, you go into, it'll do with AI. But I have found like I can do like a course outline better with ChatGPT. Or if I want to do if I'm giving a presentation, I can do outlines. And I think that's the thing that people don't talk about. Can you talk a little bit more about using it for like that kind of thing for, maybe the bigger project, like, putting together an outline, chapters for a book or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll so this is where it gets into like so for example, let's say that you do write a presentation, right? Then your prompt would be pretty much something along the lines of depending on what the topic matter like the subject matter expertise that you need. I don't know, let's say it's about something random like how to I don't know, how to bathe a puppy,
Yeah,
right?
that's a
So
good
you
one.
would say
Okay.
like right, like act as a dog groomer or whatever, right? Like we're gonna make a presentation on how to bathe a puppy, and you're gonna do a presentation. It's gonna have whatever amount of slides, and maybe you don't have that information yet, so you can just be very generic with it. And as you start getting the information that it starts creating for you, you can start getting like a little bit more and more and more detailed or specific on what you need. Now, if you do have a full brief and you understand, then put that in the first prompt and then start going from there. So the point that I'm trying to make is that it doesn't have to be a perfect prompt. You just have to put something out there and then see what it creates and then fix it, fine tune it.
Yeah.
That's going to take away a lot of analysis paralysis. It's not going to.
Yes. Yes. No, I love that because it's so true. It's like if you're having a conversation with a person. Let's say I'm talking to my husband and I'm asking him questions and he's not kind of getting what I'm really asking him, and we go back and forth. Well, that I might be doing that with ChatGPT too. That no, this is not what I'm looking for. This is really more what I'm looking for. And I think that's right too. That I love that you said that because I think people think, "Oh my goodness, I have to, what are the prompts? I have to know the prompts and let me go and buy somebody's prompts." And it's just I think people tend to overcomplicate the whole
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah, it's okay if your prompt's not perfect in the first try. Obviously, it's going to be more effective if it's more detailed, but don't let that stop you. I've seen a lot of people like not use it just because they don't know what to say, and it's like writing a post. If you don't know what to say, you don't post, and that's only hurting yourself. So, just craft the prompt as best as you can, get the project started, get the ball rolling, and then once you start getting outputs, start talking back with it. Maybe you like it, maybe you need more information. What I found is that you also have to generate stuff a few times sometimes, right? If you say create a presentation, right? Let's say the same example of how to bathe a puppy, then it's going to say, okay, it's going to give you an outline, intro, about us, blah blah blah, and it's going to be just the outline. But if you say, okay, fill in the outline, now it's going to start filling in the outline, and it's going to give you bullet points per outline. And if you go to the next, you say, okay, cool, now that you have the outline, you say, okay, wait, now I actually need each slide by slide. It's going to generate each slide by slide. So you have to go multiple layers deep for it to actually create ready to like copy and paste information.
Yeah, I love that, and this is why I'm really excited to have you here to say that to people. And I think it's like, and the thing is, if you're interacting in your office with ChatGPT, nobody knows. It's like people worry about, oh, I'm wear this size clothing, like, oh, I wear, a 6, but if now I'm in an 8, like I'm just dreaming about that. But that, people, and it's like nobody knows. Nobody
Yeah,
knows. The
nobody
Legos on
knows.
the inside. You're in your office. Nobody knows what you're doing. And I think that that is the scariest thing for people is they're so afraid that they're gonna do it wrong. Like I used to be like that with the computer. And it's like you can't break it. So I'm just showing your LinkedIn profile here. And oh, I see you're connected with my friend Mo. I love that woman.
Awesome.
Um, and so and I know that you share content. You have you're often having workshops and things
Yes.
like that and boot camps. And so you have a lot of things here and you do share frequently. You're sharing information. And so if someone is not following you already, you definitely should be following Isabella. Sorry about that. And and are you open to connecting with anyone? You look like you're pretty well, tapped out there at the connection end, but
Yeah, feel free to connect with me. I know this is more of a the prompt that I was trying to share in the beginning. If you guys want to send me a DM, I'll more than happy to share. I know it's a little difficult to explain over audio, but yeah, feel free to send me a connection request. We just started school too. If you do want to learn more, it's free to join. If you want to learn more about like AI for sales and marketing.
well, I know that I know you're doing actually you're doing they should check your profile. You're doing a free something or other right now. And I know I did a boot camp with you, which was fabulous. It was like 4 days or something like that, before I
Oh,
actually
thank
got to
you.
talk to you. And, I think part of the thing that's so important with so many things is the whole demystifying this, like, oh, you have to be this or that to work with an AI. Is there any other sort of easy entree AI that you might think of, or do you think that like ChatGPT, Claude, and Perplexity are kind of good to start?
Yeah, I would go to those tools. I mean, you can use it. Almost every tech tool, or like a lot of the tech tools, especially if they're like, future forward, a lot of them are using AI in little places. Like you mentioned, Kajabi, you can now create titles and stuff like that. You can start using it in that way, but what I have found, it's always going to give you better answers if you just go to like one of the chatbots directly, because you can control it more, right? Like if you go on Kajabi, it's only using a prompt to generate only the title. But if you go on ChatGPT, you're giving it the full scope. Here's the title, here's the slides, here's the presentations, here's the modules. It has so much more context on you and your ideal client profile. So I would just go straight to ChatGPT or Claude, or there's a bunch of other tools now also. So just pick one. You don't have to go and become an AI tool expert because that's also shiny object syndrome really quick. Like you can get stuck in a tsunami of apps. Just pick one. Uh, use it until you're like, okay, I want to explore. Or I have time to explore for the next one. But yeah, I think it just goes back to like the simplicity of like, don't be afraid. Like you said, it's not gonna like self implode. It's not gonna crash. It's not gonna break. And it's private. No one has to know if your prompt is good or bad, and only you will learn from
I
that.
know that's like when I'm pushing people to start creating videos. You don't show them to anybody. Just get in the habit of doing it. So we're kind of at the end of our time. It goes by so fast. And I've been seeing like hearts popping up. So sometimes people aren't commenting, but they're there. I see the hearts coming up. Um, So I always like to ask all of my guests for some final thoughts. I've asked you some questions. It's been an interesting conversation. I've learned something like I always do. Is there anything that you'd like to share? As before we're saying goodbye here.
Yeah, I think the most important thing is like really to take AI seriously. AI is not going to go anywhere, and in this case, we talked a lot about how we can use it for like content marketing courses, blog posts, presentations, whatever the case might be. This is something that is here to stay. A lot of big companies are investing like millions and billions of dollars into AI initiatives, and the reality is that it moves really, really fast. So the best thing that you can do for yourself, the way that I kind of see it at least, is the AI wave, the whole shift is happening, right? You can either choose to be on the front end or on the back end. If you're on the front end, you're going to be able to capitalize on a lot of these things. But if you're on the back end, then you're going to be the person that's like kind of victim mode, like, oh my gosh, now they're only hiring AI people or AI this or AI that. But if you're now, like, now is the best time to start learning and getting yourself involved, because when the time does happen and your employers or even like your own clients say, I want to figure out how to make this better and I want to use technology and we're going to use AI, you can raise your hand and say, hey, I know how to use AI. And now you can secure yourself. If you're in a job situation, you can secure yourself to either keep the job or get a raise, because AI, everyone knows that if you do anything with AI right now, you're going to get paid more than the regular person that does the same exact thing without AI. So yeah, take it seriously. It's life
No,
changing.
no, I love that. So many people are afraid of this, afraid of that, and this stuff, it's not going away. It's like, and I kind of do think of it a lot. It's the same way as video. People are like, oh no, oh no, no, and so your competitors are using it. Same with AI. Your competitors are using it and they're helping their clients and teaching them. And while I wouldn't be necessarily selling you a prompt, I would work with my clients and give them some instruction. Here's how you might want to, set that up to get started. Um,
Absolutely.
so I thank you so much for being here. As I said, I know you're a busy woman, and I really, really do appreciate the time. I want to say hello. We have people on Instagram as well, so I see you over there on Instagram, and thank you so much, everyone. I will not be here next week because of the holiday weekend, so I will be back seeing you in a couple weeks. And again, Isabella, thanks so much for being here. I so appreciate your time.
Thank
Bye,
you for having
everyone.
me. Bye bye.